Hey guys, and welcome back to Runway from the Rav, a Project Runway podcast. My name is Riley.
And I'm Maggie.
And today we'll be discussing Season 15, Episode 6.
Yep.
So, the idea behind this episode was that they all went to a party by Absolute something, like Essex or...
I thought it was like Elix.
Elix, something like that. And it was like a club, kind of a bar, and they went there for like a press junket, kind of. And they were meeting with bloggers and reporters and everything in kind of little pairs, and then got to sit with the judges as well. And then, shocker, it turned out to be our next challenge was to make cocktail dresses inspired by the club.
Yep.
So what did you think of that challenge?
I mean, you gotta have a cocktail challenge.
Yes.
You just do. But, I mean, it was just like, what does any of this have to do with anything? Nothing.
At least they
But I
chose
guess
like a
that's why it's
cool bar, kind of. I mean, I'm not huge on copper pineapples for like a grown-up person's drink. That felt a little much, but
yeah.
the design of the place seemed fine, other than the flamingo bathrooms. I thought it was...
Oh, you didn't like that?
I thought that just seemed odd. That you have like leather, and then you also have crystals, and then you also have more leather, and then you also have a flamingo bathroom.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I do like the challenges where they're supposed to use, like, architecture or just something about the setting as their inspiration. That's always kind of cool to see how people will interpret that, but...
Yeah, they haven't really done, like, a New York City, like, skyline one yet, but I'm sure they probably will at some point. So that's the premise of the episode, is that it's a cocktail dress challenge. Everybody's working on their own again, and I think the budget was $300, which I believe is the highest we've had so far for like a single challenge, like individual challenge. So that everybody seemed pretty pleased about that. So you can really make, a little more than when you have like $150. So especially since I'm sure mood is expensive.
Yeah.
So in the workroom this week, a lot kind of went down. So we had some various stories going on where I believe a lot of our designers either have never designed a cocktail dress, don't fully understand what it means, because it's not just a dress, like it has a very kind of prescriptive like length and general style, and everybody did make a dress. No one like kind of threw it out there and made like a jumpsuit or anything, but I feel like a lot of designers this week struggled to make and had to remake. I think it was at least I think Majing, Tasha, Cornelius, and Natalia that had to completely scrap and start from new after like their first their discussion with Tim Gunn. So that's I think that's the most we've seen have to like absolutely scrap it, because there's only 11 designers left. So that was a little bit of drama of people like not fully understanding how to put their aesthetic into a cocktail dress, and then also when Tim comes around and is like, no. They are like, oh no. So there was a lot of scrambling. There was also a lot of sharing of fabrics and things like that. People helping each other, which was nice. But then there was a little drama with some other designers who were doing well and have been doing well all competition, that I don't know if it was just the editing this time to cast them in a more negative light, because before this they've always been positive. And I'm speaking here about Aaron and Dexter, where they've kind of been the poster children of this season, where their voices are heard throughout every episode. It's not like Tasha or Natalia, who we don't see as often in the little confessionals. We see Aaron and Dexter all the time. They're frequently on the top. And then this week they just both were like feeding off of each other, and we're just like, yes, this is perfect, this is great. And they were just like, everybody else's, for the most part, was scrambling to get things done or had a bad critique, and they're just like, oh, I have too much time, I don't know what to do, and it was just, I don't know if they've always been that way and this is just the first time we're seeing it, but regardless, I was just like, oh, because I respected them, I liked them, and then saying those statements seemed kind of catty to me, to be like watching other people rush around, knowing that feeling themselves. It's not like they've always, Erin in her first challenge was right up to the wire, gluing gumballs, to just be like, oh, I have so much time, like, let's just go to bed, it's just kind of like, really? You're all here, in the same kind of predicament. What'd you think?
Yeah. I didn't read it exactly that way.
Okay, sure.
I didn't... Oh my god. I mean, I don't know. I guess I was just, focusing on the little friendship that they were starting to have there. How they're just, I don't know. They were, kind of vibing off of each other, like, ooh, I like that.
Yeah, that was good to see.
But I don't know. I mean, Keena used to finish early all the time, and that was kind of like a running joke.
True, but I think that, I don't know, it felt a little different with Keeney, because he never really seemed to, like, rub people's faces in it, and there were a couple times, at least on his original season, where he helped other people. Not so much at All Stars, but just because that was a different kind of setting there. But I remember him helping at least a couple times of people, like, especially Sean and stuff, finish. But yeah, it was more just like a big running joke that Keeney's so fast at sewing, whereas these two were just because they kind of got a good Tim critique. And yeah, I liked seeing their friendship, and they obviously have, like, similar aesthetics. They're like, our girls are going to the same party. So that part was cool, but at the same time, I don't know, I was just a little... Some of the comments to me, because we just kept seeing them in the editing of them just, like, always being on their own, and it was like, okay, they're, like, their own internal cheerleading squad, which can become dangerous in an echo chamber, and you don't get other opinions. And we'll see that later. We'll talk about that later on, because they obviously... We're really talking each other up. We're really proud of what each other made, and, like, but it kind of backfired a little bit. Yeah.
Big egos.
Right, especially since last week I think we mentioned that Erin seemed a little one note, and, like, with her yellow. Now, this week she didn't do yellow, but we'll get to their clothes in a second. So, the other piece I wanted to talk about was there was a brief moment when Cornelius, his initial design was almost an exact replica of something he made earlier in the season with that kind of green and white pattern mixed with, like, a houndstooth, black and white. And Tim pointed it out, and Cornelius didn't seem bothered by it. He was like, yeah, but it's slightly different.
I thought it was exactly the same, though. It was just the designs that were slightly different.
Yeah, basically.
But it was the same fabric.
Yeah, and pieced together in the same way, and it's so... To me, they clash, the patterns do, and then that he did it the same way, and I'm like, I think he was safe on that particular challenge just because there were so many more that were below even that level, but that just kind of surprised me, and I'm glad Tim called him out on it, that it was identical, and then he did remake it, he did scrap it. He was one of the few that had to, or several, I should say, that had to, like, run around and remake it. The other big piece of drama I noted was that Jenny, for her dress, decided to use some, like, kind of glittery fabric applique that she put on top of her dress, and apparently Erin invented that, as far as this show is concerned. I understand it's been kind of her signature style, along with, like, these kind of interesting silhouettes to put these appliques on in the team challenge, of which Jenny was on her team. She was helping everybody do it. The very similar style of the fabric as well. But at the same time, Erin didn't invent that.
No.
It's not even necessarily truly her signature style that's been on every piece. So it seemed a little unfair of Erin and some other people to say, like, oh, yeah, it looks like Erin, and maybe Jenny did truly take the idea or was subconsciously inspired, but at the same time, you know, it was like, okay, she, you know, that'd be, I don't know.
It was just, I don't know. This is my personal opinion. Whenever Erin has done that applique stuff, I haven't really liked it. It just feels like she just tacks it on. And it's just kind of like, whatever, you didn't really need that.
Right.
But with Jenny's piece this week, I felt like it all went together really nicely, and I didn't feel like it was, like, super unnecessary. Like, it felt like a whole seamless piece.
Yeah, and her dress was a very kind of cool, unique design for a cocktail dress as well. It, like, went around the neck. And then I thought hers best reflected those copper that they made such a big deal about.
Yeah.
That they're the Absolute vodka or whatever it was is brewed in copper kettles, so they use copper, I don't know, like cups and stuff. And hers seemed the most to feel that way. But yeah, there was just a lot of, you know, it was Dexter and a couple other character. I always call them characters. A couple other contestants. Yeah, I know. I always say a couple other contestants just saying, like, oh, that's Erin's thing. And then finally Erin was like, you know, anybody can make it, but it seems a little... And I agree, she had used it, but yeah, I feel like Jenny used it a little better, at least in this time. And then, yeah, you didn't invent... It's not like you did... Like, there's a couple seasons ago where somebody hand-painted, like, everything, or, like, dip-dyed their fabrics a lot. I guess if that was, like, your true technique, and then somebody else suddenly did that, but it would be different. But, like, sewing on applique... No. I don't think you get to claim that fame. Personally. Okay, were there any other workroom things you wanted to note, or... Okay.
Nah.
So let's move on to the runway. Slightly shorter because we're down to 11 contestants. And after today, or this episode, the top 10 designers. So we're whittling them down. So first down the runway was Laurence, and she had this black leather and black silk dress. And it had, like, this really cool leather, like, folded leather detail over the chest. Mm-hmm. And then, like, this really cool cushion detail.
It's like quilting.
Yeah, like, quilted, like, large shoulders. She's kind of known for, like, those sculptural shoulders. Mm-hmm. And then it had this really dramatic open back that was just, it was beautiful. Perfect length for a cocktail dress. She said she was inspired by the couches in the bar, which were brown, but she amped it up to the black. And I loved this. This is probably my favorite thing I have seen this entire season. It was so me and so her, and it just nailed it. It nailed it. I loved it. What do you think? You hated it, didn't you?
That was amazing. Oh, no, I loved it too. It was a really great piece.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody use quilting really on this show
that
I can recall. I mean, it's not like that's a new thing, but I just haven't seen it on the show. And never in, like, a shoulder like that.
Yeah, and so really well done. I think Zach Posen mentioned something about the shoulders, like that he didn't like something about it. I don't remember exactly what now, but I was just like, nope, disagree.
Well, I think he said he doesn't want this to become, like, one note. He doesn't want it to always be about the shoulder. Like, and that's all it is.
Right.
Like, every single piece. Oh, shoulder detail. Well, shoulder detail.
Well, like, see, and I think her leather jacket had a shoulder detail, but her...
Well, that's what he's saying.
Yeah, but her other ones didn't. I mean, to say that about Laurence's shoulders, why not talk about Natalia and Erin's big jackets? Mm-hmm. Or Erin's applique, you know? So to me, I'm like, she's made two things with a big shoulder. I don't think her first few pieces that I remember. I'd have to go back and look, but I loved it. I disagree, Zach. Okay. Next up, we had Rick, and he took his inspiration from the bartenders' aprons, and they all had, like, this orangey, reddish leather apron. He literally made an orange leather apron dress, like, with the neck strap and all. Mm-hmm. And then this... what'd you think?
I liked it. It was super well made, and I liked how the leather looked. Like, I just liked that color and how it was shiny on the runway. Like, I don't know, it just looked cool, but to me it was completely unrealistic and just maybe, like, just too literal. Like, it literally was an apron. Right, basically.
That just wrapped around, yeah.
I mean, it was a cool take on it, but I don't know. I just couldn't picture someone actually wearing that.
Yeah, it was giving me, like, slaughterhouse realness. Yeah. Like, it was, like you said, it was a little too literal. Agree, though. He made the leather look really good. Like, it fit her really well. I didn't like the exposed zipper, but I thought he was really clever with the way he used, like, the neck strap and the back strap to kind of hold it together. But that also just kind of underlined the apron. It seemed really obvious to me to just be like, oh, I'm inspired by a leather apron, so I made a leather apron.
Yeah.
To me, you know, and then, yeah, it just looked like she was, like, ready to go to work at, like, a slaughterhouse, or, like, because it's Halloween, as we're watching this, it also felt like maybe she was, like, dressing up to be in Hostel or something, like, you know, she's like, this is what, like, you know, what I'm gonna put on to, like, go chase some teenagers around my property with a knife. Like, it just seemed a little, but he made it really well. Like, he put some good details into it. So next up we had Jenny, and she had this kind of light brown, almost gold dress. Mm-hmm. Very loose, very, like, 20s style, which is what she was inspired by. And then it kind of wrapped up around the neck, but had, like, nothing really on the shoulder. And then she applied this kind of gold, like, almost like a trickle-down applique. Mm-hmm. But in a really, like you said, it was really successful. It didn't look like tree bark or anything. It looked like a really sophisticated, cool, like, flapper kind of 20s dress. What'd you think about it?
I really liked it. I don't know. That's it. I liked it.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was a cool cut.
It's the best thing she's made, I think, so far.
I agree. And it felt a little, because she's made, like, 3 things out of that, like, beige mauve-y color, and she's made quite a few things that are a little Kelly from the Deli, but this seemed really cool. And I didn't mention it, but the last 3 people, Laurence, Rick, and Jenny, were all chosen for critique in the top. Mm-hmm. So those were our top 3 right off the bat. So next up we had Erin, and she made this brown brocade, and it was like a shiny brocade, like classic couch brocade, with like this feather line detail around like the neckline, the shoulders, and then it was cut in a V in the back, lined with feathers. They were gigantic brown ostrich feathers.
Yeah.
What did you think about this? This is the second time we've seen Erin use like a feather type. She used wigs once.
Yeah. That was different.
Yeah.
This one, no. I thought it was well made, but it was so ugly. I just thought it was hideous. I'm not a feathers person, really, so...
And this was a lot of feathers.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Mixed with brown brocade.
It was a lot... I don't know. And I didn't like the back at all. It was just a huge V of feathers.
Yeah. Well, and brown is a difficult color, I think, to make feel like fresh and new. It's just one of those colors that, because it's so earthy and so subtle, it's just hard to like put life into it. And this was not doing it for me either. I think some of the judges agreed. It felt very costumey. It looked like she was trying to like cosplay as like a hairy dude or like a lion or something with a mane, but she used feathers instead. It just... I don't know.
Who said that? Nina? Did she say it looked like a Lion King costume?
It did, yeah. I've never seen the play, but I'm sure, based off pictures, that's what it looked like. It just felt like you were trying to be like an animal or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't really like this. Erin was chosen for critique in the bottom, and I think this is the first time she's been in the bottom. Mm-hmm. And she was very confident about this look, but then, ended up in the bottom. Next up, we had Tasha, our girl Tasha. And we did get to hear more from Tasha this time. Tasha and Natalia got a lot more speaking time in the confessionals, which is usually not a good sign. It's half and half. It could be really good that you're going to be in the top or the bottom. It usually just means at the very least you're going to get critiqued. Mm-hmm. So Tasha made a very simple black dress with a belt made out of the same fabric that Jenny was using. Mm-hmm. And then it had like a little lining at the bottom. Yeah. She originally was making a different dress... That the bottom floral. Floral top with like light denim on the bottom. So it just didn't feel very Tasha, even that one. Mm-hmm. It was very youthful and very just light, and I think Tim said daytime. Mm-hmm. And Tasha just seems more like I don't know, kind of a street type fashion, I think is like self-proclaimed is what she does. And neither of these felt that way. But at least the first one, even though it was daytime, it felt a little more something there. Mm-hmm. This black dress was just very plain. Yeah. And the belt sash thing was like tied in. It almost like made it even worse somehow.
It did. It was like just a weird little afterthought, kind of like a desperate attempt to make it a little, give it a little something. Mm-hmm. But, yeah.
Very Tasha. Little, yeah. not your best, Tasha. And she really came out on top in the first episode, but since then, she has failed to impress. And even on the team challenge, I think she just made like one yellow skirt.
Yeah. And or it was a simple like pencil skirt.
Yeah, at least that's all it shows. So it's just like maybe she was, I don't know. But anyway, she was chosen for critique on the bottom. Mm-hmm. Next up, we had Cornelius, who made a houndstooth dress. Now, it was originally black and white houndstooth, but he turned it inside out, so it was white and gray. But to me, this looked like I could go buy it at Sears.
Yeah,
it was so simple. It was a sleeveless dress, and then it had a tiny little slit on the back, maybe like 4 inches, cut to cocktail length. I could not believe he was safe, and I couldn't believe it. Yeah, this seemed as uninspired as Tasha's. Mm-hmm. But at least Tasha's had like ruching and some detail. This was literally just a houndstooth dress.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe the pattern distracted them or something.
Yeah, the fact that he had a slightly more interesting pattern. And it did fit the model well, like it looked pretty good, but I can't believe he keeps being safe with some of the things he puts down. It's blowing my mind at this point. It's actually frustrating. That every week, I don't think I've been impressed by him really yet. The emoji dress, just because he like truly went there. Yeah. But I didn't like it, but it did glow, it did transform. That was probably the only piece of his that I was like, okay.
No. I hated that one.
You did.
That one I'll just disregard.
Yeah. But everything else outside of that one, and it was not my top for that week, it was just at least something from him, because most of the time it's just a dress, there it goes. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he was safe. Next up we had Natalia. She struggled a lot this week. She was inspired by like the crystals and the chandeliers in the bar. And she picked a very expensive fabric that was half her budget, that was like this really, really, really overdone, like pearl beading. Mm-hmm. Like crystal pearl beading. And then she bought like this like pink, like, I don't know, really sheer kind of fabric to go with it. And her initial dress, Tim was like, it looks like an ice skater. And she was like, oh my god, it does. And then she had to go back. She borrowed some red fabric from Jenny, and what she ended up putting down was a red dress with that beading kind of overlaid. And it was kind of like a slouchy type dress. And it was like a crop top with the beading all connected, and then a skirt.
Yeah.
How'd you feel?
Your face. Riley didn't look impressed.
No.
I'm not impressed. I was not impressed either. Zach, I mean, I don't know.
This one split the judges, too. The guest judge and Zach were okay with it. They didn't love it. They were okay. And Nina and Heidi disliked it. Mm-hmm. And I think this is the first time this season we've seen a true split, 50-50 split. Mm-hmm. This did not split me. It was better than what she initially made. It looked better on the runway than I at first thought. But once you got to see it close up and you saw how uneven and rushed it was. And I know she had to remake it. She only had 4 hours. You know what? So did other designers.
Well, and she had to hand sew it.
Right, yeah. Her idea was just flawed from the beginning with that fabric, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure what else she could have done with that.
No.
Yeah, not great.
No.
She didn't know what to do. She didn't have her mesh. She didn't have her neoprene.
Yeah, well, and Cornelius, I think, said that because they went to school together and are friends, and he was like, this doesn't feel like you. And she's like, well, if it doesn't feel like me, it means I'm growing, but in the wrong direction. But, you know, this is probably a good lesson for her of, like, fabric choice. Mm-hmm. I think, was it Linda in one of the early episodes? She also chose a fabric she wasn't familiar with, that gray knit, and it sent her home. Yes. So Natalia was chosen for critique in the bottom, but like we said, she split the judges. Mm-hmm. 2 of them probably would have had her be safe. So next up we had Brick, and he put down this, like, shiny, as Brick said, shiny's a color. And it was black and silver. It looked very spacey to me. What'd you think?
I actually loved it.
Okay.
Maybe I was just, like, distracted by all the shininess, but I don't know. I thought it was kind of like a cool silhouette, and, like, to me it looked nicely made. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It would go very well with the glitter pants. True.
He knows his girl, and she loves the glitter.
She's a spacey glitter
princess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't really like it. It looked a little boxy to me.
Yeah.
And just heavy. It just looked heavy compared to the others. But honestly, I was a little surprised by Brick because initially I was like, what are you making? But it turned out better than I expected, but I didn't love it. And these are my 2, like, favorite colors. Like, black and gray, black and silver, I love. And to me, it just looked overdone a little too heavy. We're split here. Just like the judges on Natalia's, we're split on Brick. So let's move on. Okay, so next up we had Ma Jing, who used red again. I feel like he's used red a couple times now. He made a red dress with a really high slit. And then it had like this like beige and red like lace sleeve detail near the top. Mm-hmm. Not like a sleeve, but like thick straps, I guess. This one, he initially was inspired by, he made a dress previously inspired by the dripping of condensation on the copper pineapple. When he was like, I have my inspiration, I was like, oh, he's going to make like a copper dress, like maybe with like a texture off the pineapple. No, the dripping condensation's what inspired Mahjong. Dripping should never describe a dress.
Well, then he chose red.
Yeah, then he chose red. And his drawing looked like a melted popsicle. I was like, if Michael Kors was still here. Now, his second dress did not look like a dripping dress. It was just kind of this red kind of, like, I was not impressed. I was surprised he was safe. It looked like nothing to me. Him and Cornelius just completely underperformed this week. So did Tasha, to be honest. Just like kind of nothing. At least Natalia's had something to it. She like put some effort in, or looked like it. The other ones just, and those were all the people who had to remake. They all struggled. But this, at least he didn't send the dripping thing down, I guess, because you just don't drip with red.
No. And did you see the shapes he cut in that first one?
Yeah.
Where, he like literally tried to cut drips And, oh my god, it was terrible.
Yeah.
I'm glad he just scrapped that.
Yeah, he turned it around and he was safe. Next up we had Roberry, who made a patterned, very simple silhouette dress, but it was patterned. I think it had like 2 patterns to it. I believe Dexter or somebody said it looked like a painting, and I agreed. It was like a very, like, it was kind of like a striped pattern, colorful pattern, but then the rest of the dress was just kind of this beige, I think. What do you think about it?
This one, to me, was honestly kind of on the same level as Cornelius. Like, I don't know. It didn't really stand out to me at all. I feel like I've seen it in, like, a normal store.
Yeah, and he said, well, his woman, like, his girl would be going to, like, is more sophisticated and would be going to a more sophisticated party, but this looked like a dress I'd wear under a jean jacket.
Yeah. It was just, I don't know, it was just whatever.
Yeah, wasn't impressed. And normally Roberry makes some cool stuff, or at least weird stuff, like last week.
Yeah.
Speaking of, like, weird drip hemlines, like...
Well, he was gonna do something weird, but then Tim was just like, no.
Yeah, he was gonna mix a big ruffle pattern. Yeah. But at least that may have spiced it up. But either way, he was safe. And then last down was Dexter, who had immunity this week, and he made this, like, chocolate brown dress with a really gigantic, huge fringe. I'm talking like maybe 2 feet long. Brown fringe, same color as the dress, that ran around the neck, so it came down on the front and the back. I didn't mind it on the front, but I did not like it on the back. What'd you think?
I actually really liked this one.
Okay.
The judges hated this.
Yeah, they actually warned him and said that if you didn't have immunity, you would be on the bottom, so be very careful. And he seemed shocked. Him and Aaron both really were digging their own things and digging each other's, vibing off each other's designs, and both of them got a snap back to reality this week of like, nope, not quite there. For the judges' taste, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, I like the chocolate fringe.
I really liked it on the front more than I thought. And as I've said before, I hate fringe. Well, I'm not a fringe person.
And with the straight hair, like, to me, I don't know.
See, to me, it looked like weird extensions in the back. I liked it in the front. It created this cool movement. And this is the second time he's done fringe now. Yeah. That real long fringe. And previously, fringe was always Sean from his season. And it was always like, oh, Sean's fringe. But, you know, if Aaron can have applique, Sean can have fringe. Or now Dexter, I guess. But yeah, he was warned. So, but he was safe, ultimately, because of his immunity. So that means in the top, we had Laurence, Rick, and Jenny. And in the bottom, we had Aaron, Tasha, and Natalia.
Yep.
So it turned out the winning design, it was between, ultimately, Jenny and Laurence. And it ended up going to Jenny. Did you agree with that?
No. I think it should have been Laurence.
I agree.
I mean, Jenny's was cool and everything, but God, those quilted shoulders.
Laurence's was just so unique, but also just, I could see anybody wearing that. Like, it looked like almost like a Breakfast at Tiffany's level of just, you nailed it. And I think, it was maybe Nina or Heidi said that it was like the Bentley of little black dresses. And then for her to not win, I was like, you probably all drive Bentleys. Come on. Like, yeah, I was shocked. I was like, she was robbed. I mean, now Laurence has won previously with her jumpsuit and Jenny hadn't. But especially since they were confused, Heidi really thought Jenny's dress was Aaron's when it walked down the runway, which I think may have impacted some of their scores, because there's always a little favoritism on the judging, where if you really know who someone is, like when a design walks down, it's like, oh, that's obviously Aaron. They probably all thought that, and maybe it like boosted her score. It's hard to say. Yeah, Jenny's was cool. I didn't dislike it, but I just thought Laurence's hit the challenge, hit the cocktail dress style, and also her own style, and the folding of the leather and the quilted shoulders were just so unique and well done compared to the applique, which obviously is not unique in this, at least this season anyway.
Right. To
just be like, oh, okay. Apparently applique, big jackets and applique this season are all that's winning right now. Like, it's just applique and jackets.
Yep.
So our bottom three, like I said, are Aaron, Natalia, and Tasha, and the bottom two ended up being between Tasha and Natalia. And unfortunately, our girl Tasha was sent home. How'd you feel?
Well, I'm sad to see her go, but I think it was time.
Yeah.
Because as we've said, like, she hasn't impressed since that first challenge.
Yeah, I was really expecting her to just turn out some awesome things after that first outfit with those pants. So cool. Mm-hmm. And then it's just week after week, I'm like, Tasha, where is it? In that swimsuit she made. I'm sorry. Yeah. That was bad. And then this was bad. And I like her personality. Not that we got to see her a ton, which is a bummer. Mm-hmm. But yeah, now she's gone.
Yep. Well, it's just everything was so basic.
Yeah.
She just made a lot of basics.
Yeah. And maybe she just wasn't quite ready for Project Runway. Kind of like Linda and some others. Mm-hmm. And so that leaves us with now our top 10 designers. And we'll see where that takes us. There was no Tim Gunn save this time. We mentioned last time that we thought maybe Alex would get it. That not there. I doubt it will be used for Tasha as much as everybody likes Tasha. She hasn't made anything. So I think we were right there. You were right on saying that it'll probably be saved till closer to the end. So I did not see a sneak peek for next week.
I can't remember.
The version I watched didn't catch it.
Well, okay. I'm not going to give you a lot of great detail.
Okay.
My memory's fuzzy. But it's something about an amusement park.
Oh, okay, cool.
They go on a trip somewhere. I don't know if it's like in New York or if they actually get to fly
Our
somewhere.
first trip, yeah.
Yeah, but they were on roller coasters and just like, I don't know, different stuff. Who knows?
Man,
maybe it's at Disney, Six Flags, I don't know.
Yeah, could be. Well, or maybe there's a theme park around New York City, I don't know, like just outside of it or something.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, who knows? Well, that's cool. That'll be something different. I don't think I've ever done an amusement park before.
No.
After, it's season 15, like, they're really cranking out the themed kind of episodes, but that's probably for the best. So, okay, so that's something cool to look forward to next week. Mm-hmm. Do you have any final thoughts for the episode 6?
No. This was, I don't know, this one was a different one. Like, this was probably one of the least successful runways so far.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed in it. There was a couple pieces that, like, I really like Laurence's, and then, like, Jenny's and Rick's were at least kind of cool, like, interesting, but most people's, I was just like, this is boring, Yawnville. Mm-hmm. I expect
Zach
more.
Said so, too.
Yeah.
It's like, we need to bring up that imagination.
And maybe that's where the amusement park is. We need more amusement on the runway.
Wowzing.
Wow. Okay. Let's move along swiftly. So I think that wraps this up. So that's all for us this week. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at @RavRunway, and we will soon be on YouTube as well. So you can watch us there because SoundCloud limited time, and we got too much to say each episode. So I think that's it for us, and we'll see you next week.